Welcome back. UN Namibia, in partnership with the British High Commission in Namibia, is hosting the 12th annual Model United Nations Namibia High School Conference. Since its inception in 2012, the Model UN in Namibia has served as a powerful tool for youth engagement, empowering Namibian learners to explore complex global issues and develop a profound understanding of international cooperation. Joining us for further insight is Charles Moore, who is the British High Commissioner to Namibia. Charles, good evening and welcome.
Thank you for having me back.
Thank you so much for being here. Just to start with, I want to look at, preparation and how high school learners typically would get ready for the MUNAM conference. What are some of the skills, they need to succeed in the event?
Well, I mean, because we're trying to replicate the United Nations and high school learners become different countries, so they represent different countries. They've got to do an awful lot of research on the topic they're going to be debating, but also on the countries they're going to be representing. Because to make it as realistic as possible, we want them to experience how international negotiations work. And so doing the research on a certain country's position on a particular issue means that they can then debate with other countries who may have different positions. Yeah. So there's quite a lot of research involved in it. There's quite a lot of homework that we have to do.
Well, this year's conference focuses on gender equality and women's empowerment. Just explain to us, how focusing on these issues contributes to fostering a sense of global citizenship amongst the students.
Well, this year's issues, gender equality and women's empowerment, which includes issues such as gender-based violence. I mean, these are huge global issues, and there's no single right answer. The global community hasn't yet managed to address those issues. Right. In Namibia, gender-based violence is a massive problem, as it is in the UK as well. It's not something that's restricted to any particular culture or country. And so, the whole point is to ensure that the learners at a younger age become really aware of these issues and talk about how they may address them themselves in an environment which is designed to be like the United Nations. And it's important for young people to be aware of these issues so that they become more responsible global citizens themselves.
Yeah. What are the long-term benefits for these students, being part of MUNAM in terms of, leadership, diplomacy, perhaps even, careers in international relations?
Yeah. Well, I think one thing that all school learners don't get enough practice in is public speaking, and that can be terrifying to begin with. If you reach adulthood and you have to do a public speech in front of an audience, that can be terrifying. But actually, it gives them the confidence to speak, and to speak from a position, outlining their own policies in the guise of the country they're representing. That gives them real confidence to speak in public and also to listen. That's just as important, if not more important, in international relations. So to put forward your own views, but then to listen to others. You're trying to influence each other, and sometimes that works and sometimes it doesn't.
Yeah. Well, as you said, a lot of students, do or would love to have skills in public speaking. So in terms of the selection process of who gets to be a part of this, who gets to walk away with this skill and many others, how do you select?
Well, I mean, we don't do that, but we are partners in the United Nations. We work with a number of schools, mainly through in Windhoek, but not exclusively in Windhoek. And the schools will have a selection process to decide who represents them as well. So there is a sort of element of competition between schools and between learners at those schools. So it's there is a competitive element, but then learners like competition. We like giving prizes for the best speaker or the best presentation. It encourages them to do more.
Yeah. Just finally, what was your takeaway from today's day one?
Well, I was there at the opening, and I'm going to go back tomorrow and listen to some of the debate. But I've done this 3 years now, and each year I think it's really impressive to see this sea of students, the faces on day one, and they're all nervous and they're all wondering how it's going to go. And when you go back the next day, you can see the increase in their confidence. They've enjoyed it, they've learned a lot, they've made new friends, and they've discovered that they can do something that they weren't necessarily sure about before. And you know, that's the most humbling thing to see learners develop in such a short time. But on top of that, they get awareness of how international relations work, how the United Nations work, and the importance of global communities speaking and interacting together. And that's a really special thing, and I think it will stand them in good stead in later life.
Mr. Moore, thank you so much for your time this evening, and thank you for joining us here on the Daily Roundup.
That's a pleasure.
When we continue, we touch on some health matters with Dr.